Alright guys, back here with part 2 of my first video. I went over an introduction of what you should have, with you when you go fishing. So I'm just going to go through my basic gear setup of what I have with when I go fishing. So to begin with, you should always have a tackle box, or at least something to carry your lures and your tackle in. It could be a small one, it could be a big one. I got a small little one right here from Fleet Farm, great brand. In here I can fit up to 4 boxes. Like those guys fit up 4 of those. I got side pockets for plenty of things. I can fit just about anything in here. In this one pocket over here, I have some small lures, some plastic gummies, just a little tackle box like that. In the front pocket, I have extra hooks, some extra swivels for when I go fishing in case something does break. On this side, I have some line, extra line in case it breaks. I have a ton of bobbers. And something that you should always have is you should always have like a different size bobbers. So it could go anywhere from, this big, that big. They even go that big. It depends on what your preferences, depends on what you're fishing for. I prefer the bigger ones just because it's easier to see when you're fishing, especially if the water's rough. The waves are kind of harder to see. It's just nice to have. A nice little thing to have is right here. What it is, it's a light up bobber. It's always a good thing to have when it gets dark outside if you're night fishing especially. All it does, you just turn the thing and boom, a light turns on. And when you want to turn it off, turn switch, boom, you're good to go. It's a great thing to use when you actually do go out fishing at night, or if you're getting towards the darker time, you don't want to leave. Another thing you should always have with you is a pair of pliers. I got a pair of Ozark Trails, and they're a nice little handy pair of pliers. They open up. Alright, like I said, they're nice to have. Needle nose, especially if you got to get a hook out of a fish's mouth, or if you need to, work on your line. And on the side, it has a knife, a screwdriver, a bottle opener in case, you want to sit back and have a nice cold one, maybe a Diet Coke or so. Whatever your preference is. Like I said, it's got a screwdriver, a couple knives. The pliers are probably the best part in this just because, like I said, there's such a multi-use for this. It's always nice to have one like this. You could have a basic set of needle nose pliers, or like a basic set of pliers. But like I said, it's just easier to get the whole, multi-tool kit. That way you have everything when you do need it. When you need to cut your line, you have a knife. When you need to pull a hook out, you have the pliers. So when you have a bottle of Coke, you need something to drink, you got a bottle opener. It's a great tool to have. Another thing you should always have a fishing pole, of course. Now, that might sound pretty, generic or pretty simple. Like, hey, I need a fishing pole. But you'd be surprised how many people like, what kind of fishing pole? Well, there's a couple different types. See, you have an open face, is what I have, basically. And what is, you pull this little bar right here, and that's how you cast out your line, or let line out. You have your other types where it's almost like a round circle around the actual thing, around the line. You press a button and you just go. It's more of a basic or a beginner fishing pole. But, when you get higher up, when you know what you're doing more often, you can easily use these. Perfect to use. Now, I'm a little different with how I fish. I have 2 poles. Okay, I have my first pole right here. As you can tell, it's a nice little blue, my favorite color. But at the end, you can tell that there is a good old bobber. And what I like to do is I like to have 2 different poles for one reason. I can switch. One pole is for using bobber or live bait like minnows or worms, and my second fishing pole, which is a nicer one, is for lures. When you got to use a nice lure, or like a fake worm, those are always nice to have. Like, you don't have to switch every 2 minutes every time. It's not biting on real worms. Let's switch the lure. Having 2 poles is so much easier than having to switch every 5 minutes. Plus, it's easier and it's not as time consuming. Okay. And some of the other things that I have with me in my fishing setup, you have your live bait usually. I don't have any with me right now because, well, I haven't had time to go fishing and go get any live bait yet. But I do have plenty of lures. And as you can tell here, I have a variety of lures. I also have some gummies, fake worms, I guess you could say. But there's different types of lures. Like I have, lures for going out into like the lily pads and like the, in the weeds, easier where the bass are spawning. I have a lot of crankbaits. I do have, let's see where they are. There I have a bunch of spinners. There's top water, and there's just some, diving spinners. Great option to have. You always want to have a great variety of lures. You don't want to use the same 3 lures every time because it ain't always going to work. So we have a wide variety. You know, I have big poppers up here. Some more crankbaits. And then finally, before I end the video or before I said goodbye, just a nice little thing to have. I have a little box right here, and it has all my essentials. So that's your hooks right here. That's your sinkers, your swivels, your weights. You always want to have stuff like this on you in case you were to break some, you lose one. If a fish swallows the hook and you can't get it out, well, then you got to have a new hook. Same with the weights. The weights are beneficial because that way, the hook and the bait will go down farther in the water. If your bass is 10 feet and your bobber is only going to go 5 feet, well, you're going to need that extra 5 feet or, however many feet you need with them sinkers. I said some extra bobbers, of course, some bigger hooks, depending on what kind of fish you want to catch. I said just the basic necessities, all you need. I said, really, if you want to start out beginner, you need a pole, 2 or 3 lures, maybe a spinner, pair of pliers, some bait, some hooks, bobbers, and weights. That's really all you need. I said, this is just my setup, my personal, fishing experience of what I have. I said, it's great to have around. It's always nice to have extra, but like I said, you don't need all the stuff that I need. I've been collecting, I've been buying for years. I've been owning my fishing skills, as you could say. So, like I said, it's just your preference and how much of a beginner are you. If you're just starting out, I would just get a couple of things, just your basics. All right? And if you're, want to get more into it, you can keep buying more. I said Fleet Farm, Walmart, Scheels, Dunham Sports. Them are great places to go to actually buy lures, buy fishing equipment. I prefer Fleet Farm because of the brands and the quality, but you can go anywhere you want, all right? So with that, fish on and reel on in.